Maximize your small space vegetable gardening tips. How many of you think you can't grow your own food because you don't have a big backyard? I'm here to tell you that you absolutely can. Whether you're in a tiny apartment with a balcony or just want to make the most of a small backyard, small space gardening lets you grow fresh, healthy food no matter where you are. That's what we're all about today on the channel, digging into the wonderful world of small space vegetable gardening. We'll talk about why it's so great, how to choose the right plants, some creative ways to grow in tight spaces, and all the tips and tricks I've learned to make sure you have a bountiful and beautiful harvest. So, if you're ready to get your hands dirty and transform your little space into a thriving veggie garden, grab your gardening gloves and let's get started. Now you might be thinking, why go through the trouble of small space gardening when I can just buy my veggies at the store? Well, let me tell you, there's something truly special about growing your own food. First things first, the taste. There's nothing quite like biting into a juicy tomato still warm from the sun, or adding fresh herbs to your dinner that you just snipped from your own little garden. The flavor is just incredible, so much better than anything you can find at the grocery store. And speaking of the grocery store, let's talk about saving money. Food costs can really add up, but growing your own vegetables can help you cut down on those grocery bills. Plus, you know exactly what's going into your food. No harmful pesticides or chemicals, just pure, natural goodness. But it's not just about the food and the savings. One of the things I love most about small space gardening is that it can be done anywhere. Whether you have a balcony, a patio, a sunny windowsill, or even just a little patch of ground, you can create a thriving garden. It's amazing how creative you can get with limited space. And let's not forget about the environmental benefits. Growing your own food reduces your carbon footprint by cutting down on transportation and packaging waste. Plus, it supports local ecosystems and helps create a healthier planet. So no matter how small your space, you can experience the joy of growing your own fresh, delicious, and healthy vegetables. It's good for you, good for your wallet, and good for the planet. Now, when you're gardening in a small space, it's important to choose your vegetables wisely. You want plants that are going to thrive in containers or vertical setups and give you the biggest harvest for your space. One of my favorite things to grow in small spaces is leafy greens. Think lettuce, spinach, kale. They grow so quickly and don't need a lot of space to spread out. Plus, you can harvest the outer leaves and let them keep growing for multiple harvests. Herbs are another fantastic option. Basil, thyme, mint, oregano, they add so much flavor to your cooking and thrive in small pots. You can even grow them on a sunny windowsill indoors if you don't have outdoor space. Root vegetables like radishes, carrots, and beets are great too, but they need deeper containers to accommodate their roots. Just make sure the containers have good drainage so the roots don't get waterlogged. If you're craving fresh tomatoes, cucumbers, or peas, don't worry, you can still grow them in a small space. These vining crops are perfect for vertical gardening, which we'll talk more about in a bit. Just give them a sturdy support to climb on. And if you're short on space, look for dwarf varieties of your favorite vegetables. There are mini peppers, bush beans, and even compact cucumbers that are specially bred for small space gardens. Remember, choosing the right plants is key to maximizing your harvest in a limited space. Now let's dive into some creative techniques that will help you make the most of your small space gardening adventure. We're going to talk about container gardening, vertical gardening, and even square foot gardening, all fantastic options for small spaces. Container gardening is probably the most popular and versatile method for small space gardening, and for good reason. You can use almost anything as a container: pots, grow bags, even repurposed buckets or baskets. Just make sure they have drainage holes to prevent your plants from getting root rot. When choosing your containers, think about the size and shape of the plants you want to grow. Leafy greens and herbs do well in shallower containers, while tomatoes and peppers need something deeper to support their root systems. And don't be afraid to get creative with your containers. Vintage tubs, old wheelbarrows, or even stacked pallets can add so much charm and character to your small space garden. And speaking of creativity, let's talk about vertical gardening. This technique is all about growing up instead of out, which is perfect for maximizing space in a small garden. You can use trellises, stakes, fences, or even walls to support climbing plants like tomatoes, cucumbers, pole beans, and peas. Vertical gardening not only saves precious ground space, but also improves air circulation around your plants, reducing the risk of diseases. Plus, it adds a beautiful vertical element to your garden, creating visual interest and a sense of height. You can even use hanging baskets for trailing crops like strawberries or herbs, adding a touch of whimsy and charm to your space. Now, if you're really short on space or want to maximize your yields in a small area, square-foot gardening might be just what you need. This method involves dividing your growing area into 1-foot squares and planting a specific number of plants per square foot, depending on their mature size. Square-foot gardening is all about efficiency and maximizing production in a limited area. It's perfect for raised beds or small garden boxes, and it allows you to grow a surprising variety of vegetables in a small space. Plus, it's a great way to keep your garden organized and easy to maintain. Tips for gardening success. All right, let's talk about some essential tips that will set you up for small space gardening success. These are the things I've learned over the years that make all the difference when you're gardening in a limited area. First and foremost, let's talk about soil. Using high-quality soil is crucial for healthy plant growth, especially in containers. Regular garden soil is often too heavy and dense for containers, leading to poor drainage and root problems. Instead, opt for a lightweight, nutrient-rich potting mix that's specifically designed for container gardening. And to give your plants an extra boost, consider adding some compost or organic fertilizers to your potting mix. Compost adds beneficial microorganisms and nutrients to the soil, promoting healthy root development and vigorous plant growth. Next up, watering. Containers tend to dry out much faster than garden beds, so consistent watering is key, especially during hot summer months. Check your containers daily and water deeply when the soil feels dry to the touch. You can also use self-watering containers or set up a simple drip irrigation system to make watering easier and more efficient. Now let's talk about sunlight. Most vegetables need at least 6 hours of sunlight daily to thrive. Before you start planting, observe your space throughout the day and identify areas that receive the most sunlight. If you're short on sunny spots, consider using reflective surfaces like white walls or mirrors to bounce more light onto your plants. And to keep your small space garden productive throughout the growing season, practice succession planting. This technique involves planting fast-growing crops like lettuce and radishes every few weeks, ensuring a continuous harvest. You can also sow seeds indoors while other vegetables are still growing in your containers, maximizing your yields and extending your harvest season. Well, friends, I hope this video has inspired you to try small space vegetable gardening. It's proof that you don't need a big backyard to enjoy the joys of growing your own food. Remember, choose compact, high-yield plants, embrace space-saving techniques like container and vertical gardening, and provide your plants with good soil, plenty of sunlight, and consistent watering. And most importantly, have fun with it. Experiment, get creative, and don't be afraid to try new things. Gardening is a journey, and there's always something new to learn. Now I want to hear from you. What's your biggest challenge with small space gardening? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more urban gardening tips, and share it with your friends. Let's grow together.